22nd. Today is actually October 18th, 2017. This is MMA Junkie Radio. I am Ghost. To my left is Dan Tom, the MMA analyst, top notch, I like to call him. Danny, the producer back in New York, also top notch. And he takes it to another level. He's way more top notch. He's George, and he's in an undisclosed location within the Las Vegas area. I think we've kind of narrowed it down to Mountain's Edge, but who knows? How's everybody doing today?
Good, good. How about you guys?
Doing great.
Not annoyed like yesterday?
Not annoyed like yesterday. In fact,
I'm
pretty happy because the Cubs are on their way out. It's 3-0 now. The Dodgers got them. I feel bad for them because they are a good team. Only good teams are really left at this point. On the other side, you got the Astros and the Yankees. They're battling it out. It's 2-2. It's pretty interesting, but we got that momentum. Are we going to have
to fight goes if Yankees and Dodgers end up being in the World Series?
I kind of want it that way. I don't think it's going to happen that way. I think it's going to be Houston. But I would like it that way. That would be pretty cool.
Yankees came back really late last night. That means they have power even in the late innings of games now. Mm-hmm. That's exciting.
Does the town have a buzz, Danny, when that type of stuff goes on?
Yeah, that was the first thing anybody talked to me about today when I walked into work.
George, you see it looks like it's going to rain?
I mean, I was out, but I was in the back seat just kind of staring at my phone. I didn't get that feeling.
Anybody getting any
How
phone?
often does it rain?
It actually rains a lot in Vegas. People would be surprised.
And all I know is that it rains less in Vegas than it does in New York.
Well,
it rains a lot here.
Yeah, that's probably true. It's very windy out here. I will say that.
It didn't rain the entire time I was out there.
Shut up, Danny.
It's true. I was out there for a week. All right, guys. Count up to 10. Stand by.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McLaren Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMA Junkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Ghost. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMA Junkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communication stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMA Junkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology, MMA Junkie Radio, commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook and an undisclosed location in the southwest portion of Las Vegas, it's the MMA Junkie Radio show that you are listening to. It's the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me as always is the devious and dastardly Goes, our ace co-host, Dan Tom, the latest addition to the MMA Junkie Radio team. He's the best fight analyst in the world. And back east, holding together, piecing it all up, handling your calls, it's Danny Otto. What's up, guys?
What up, everybody? How's everybody's day?
Good, man.
Doing all right. Quick shout out to Born to Hate on YouTube. Simon Avila on YouTube. And Knuckled Up 101 already putting me in the right spirit to handle this show. Can't wait to start talking to you all. 866-522-2846, the number to call in if you want to squeeze in and chat about the sport of mixed martial arts, or, of course, anything else that's on your mind. I'll tell you what's going to be on my mind later. Manchester United in Champions League. I love the fact that we're back in, and you're all going to have to put up with it for the next few months, because I think we're going to go far in this tournament. Our guests today will be Mackenzie Dern, Alexander Shlemenko, Campbell McLaren, John Castaneda. So we have lots of interviews, but we still have those pockets to take your calls. And again, that number is 866-522-2846. We'll also be covering the latest news in mixed martial arts, some recent fight bookings, some that are halfway there, like Edson Barbosa saying, I signed. I'm just waiting for Khabib Nurmagomedov to sign. And, of course, that helps put together that little puzzle of the UFC lightweight division, what could be next. If Conor called out Tony the other day, then guess who's kind of being left to the side a little bit? And maybe your boy Nate Diaz. Darren Till and Cowboy Cerrone will be headlining UFC Fight Night. What are they, 116? Yeah, I think they're at 116. Or you can call it UFC Poland on Saturday. Cannot wait for that fight. Really, really excited to see if the Cowboys still chugging along, waxing everybody up until those title bouts that he's come up a little bit short on. Or if Darren Till may be the guy that says, hey, that's it, Cowboy. The downward decline has now begun. Also, the night before, Bellator 185, Gegard Mousasi debuts with Bellator as he takes on Alexander Shlemenko. So, lots of fights to look forward to. Lots of gambling opportunities to look forward to. I don't know about you guys. I'm not going to sit here in line and say, oh, my God, I crush it. There's people that are way better at it than me. That's because they bet a lot more. But I'll tell you what, man, I'm surviving. You know, that I'm being handed an envelope every week. I don't know about you guys.
I don't do too well. I don't know what my problem is because maybe it's parlays or something like that. I think maybe I should just do more single plays because for the most part, I'm positive, but I just never hit those parlays. I don't know what my deal is. Dan's probably killing it, I would imagine.
You would think so, like if you looked at my pick percentage, but betting and picking fights is a complete different thing, and both are madman sports when we're talking about MMA guys. But I will say my betting section will be up. We just added that, by the way, to the breakdown section. You spoke, we listen, MMAjunkie.com. Every Thursdays should be my breakdown should be dropping, and on the bottom there, if you go to the end of it, I usually have a recommended betting section for fantasy, straight plays, and parlay pieces, because I like to mix it up because, you know, parlays are kind of crazy enough to hit. They're for fun, but every once in a while, maybe balancing with a straight play, why not? But yeah, I'm usually a break even, maybe just north kind of guy. Nothing too crazy for me, GG.
I know, man. I just got to start upping my values, my per bet numbers, and who knows? Maybe I'll break off from you guys and just do that. Shout out on Facebook to Billy McDonald, a.k.a. Chili Billy in Fort Worth, Texas. Fast Eddie Washington, always checking in with us. Samuel the Chef Medina out in Chicago. Michael Sanchez, one half of the Sanchez brothers from Hollister, California. Erica Mislik, always saying hello, guys, from Slovakia. Hello, Erica. Hello, for you. Erica. Nice of you to tune in. Guys, what'd you think of Edson Barbosa and Khabib Nurmagomedov? Kind of almost a done deal there.
I like that matchup because it brings back something that we really don't see too often anymore in mixed martial arts, and it's that old striker versus grappler. Say what you will about mixed martial artists. Okay, Khabib, yeah, you know submissions, yeah, you can throw punches, but you're not on the level of the guy across from you in the striking, and he's not on your level in wrestling. So to me, it's that patented striker versus grappler. Whoever can impose their game is going to win that fight, and I love that about that matchup.
I like it because it feels like it's equal stakes, guys. Like, it feels like they're both at a door. They're just, maybe you could argue on different sides of it. Khabib, there's the argument, should he be ranked so high? He barely fights. He pulls out of fights, and he's trying to hold on to his spot, earn a shot for the title. That's his agenda right now. Whereas Barbosa, he's traditionally been the guy who, he's gotten to that top spot. He's always been the killer everybody's afraid of, but he hasn't quite made it over the hump, you know, when he gets to those fights like Cerrone's or those names. And Khabib, is a nightmare matchup on paper for him. So this is the opportunity for Barboza to get through that door, whereas Khabib is looking to keep his space, and he probably wants to keep that door shut on Barboza.
Yeah, you know, Khabib's going to have to get over the fact that he probably won't be fighting Tony Ferguson nor Conor McGregor in Russia. But he's not far away because he's undefeated, 24-0 in MMA, 8-0 in the UFC. His last fight was, you know, he crushed Michael Johnson on a huge stage in New York, UFC 205, first time in MSG. So definitely the UFC thinks highly of him, and it doesn't take much for him to get back in there. But what he's lacking is a run. Now he needs a run. He needs 3 fights in like 8 months, and at that point there's no denying, and at that point the world may be his. He speaks, you know, very decent English, has a decent amount of trash talk game, especially through social media, and he's got a country that can back him, a country that just, every time I'm looking at the rankings, I'm either looking through the ABC or EFN, FNG, you know, that promotion, and M1, and those guys love themselves some MMA out there in Russia, man. I don't know if it's blowing up on television as much as it is in terms of the amount of shows that they put on, but wow, that might be a part of the world the UFC just needs to hurry up and get there. They've teased it for the last 2 years. They still haven't shown up, though. They are going to Fresno, and tickets go on sale for that UFC fight card that's headlined by Cub Swanson and Brian Ortega. So those of you in the Central Valley, I believe it's what it's called, San Joaquin Valley, pretty good card that they got out there going on in Fresno. And, of course, tickets also go on sale for the Ultimate Fighter 26 finale in Las Vegas. Some new fights were signed for UFC Fight Night 122 in Shanghai. All I'm reading are these stories that the editorial just kicks ass and runs through. You know, while we're sleeping, I wake up to about 5-6 new posts. So there's all kinds of matchups being thrown out there. Another one that I really like is Aljamain Sterling versus Hani Yahya. That's been added to UFC Fight Night 123 in Fresno. Some bantamweights there. And, you know, whoever wins there is obviously putting themselves in a nice position as they walk into 2018. The latest USA Today Sports and MMA Junkie rankings have been released. A little bit of movement, you know, not really too much went on last week. Nikita Krylov actually fought out in Russia. He got himself a win over former Bellator champion Emmanuel Newton. We took a look there. Also, Zach Makovsky, we had to move the flyweights around. He suffered that loss at an ACB show in Montreal. Tisha Torres versus Michelle Watterson, official for UFC 218. So that card just keeps getting stronger and stronger. Corey Anderson says, hey, Patrick Cummins, get better. We'll do this at UFC 217. That, of course, is next month. If you haven't seen Patrick Cummins' staph infection, that is pretty bad, man. Looks like his foot is going to blow up.
Mm-hmm. Like
so lots going on there on the front page.
Big Trouble in Little China.
For sure.
Hey,
UFC
George.
on Fox 26 with Lawler and RDA. Those tickets are on sale. $316 Canadian gets you cage side. Damian Brown meets Frank Camacho in Sydney. Just loving these matchups everywhere. And, of course, Holly Holm, Chris Cyborg, still kind of going back and forth. The latest was Chris Cyborg, I guess, cleaning up her message to Holly. Yeah, you've been tested more, but from here on out, I like equal testing. I'm not so sure that's going to happen. I like the fact that it's random going forward. Yes, Goes.
You brought up Michelle Watterson, and I'm reading this article here in the blue corner. She's going to appear on that MTV show, The Challenge, you know, where they take the real world and road rules people and they put them in a house and they do all these challenges, right? And they eliminate each other every week, which is awesome, by the way, if you love drama and that sort of stuff. But she's going to be representing the stars. So they take the champions from previous seasons and they go up against celebrities. And she's one of them. That is not a fun environment. A lot of trash talk, a lot of fighting, a lot of drinking. That's a terrible environment. And Michelle's pretty chill. But I've noticed if you can pull out a little gangster side in her. And so I think she would be interesting on that show. You going to watch it?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll give any show a shot. It's whether I stay on for the course of a season or anything going forward. I'm always game to try something. Sci-fi is usually the one where you really, really got to make me a strong pitch. Princess Leia's got to show her tits or something's got to go on for you to really, really get me to sit down and watch that. But for the most part, I'm in, man. Sports, comedies, dramas, whatever. Just remind me or let me know when that season starts.
I'm in if it's like Michelle Watterson with like Puck from season 1 of The Real World. That's a deep pull for you guys.
Remember that guy? Puck. That guy was a joke.
Yeah, I remember him. By the way, didn't he pass away or is he still?
No, that was Pedro. He was from that season.
Oh,
he had AIDS. It was like season 3 or something like that.
Brutal season.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember the Crazy Vegas season. See, that's a good example right there. That show, Real World, where if you have a good preview and episode 1 delivers, I mean, all right, you got me. When's episode 2? And then we go from there. And I remember that was the one in Vegas, and those kids came to party. They had a good-looking crew there. And, you know, they went after it. It was at the Palms. They had given them a huge suite at the top of the Palms, and that was a pretty good show. But what usually gets people into reality TV? Obviously the hookups, some sort of a fight, you know, some fisticuffs. Same thing happened with Jersey Shore. I mean, if it wasn't for Snooki getting smacked, I don't know that show blows up. I mean, you know, I don't know that MTV went the right route or not. In terms of the business decision, yeah, that show, you know, they had subsequent seasons and everything, but, you know, is that really what you want? Is that really what you hope for? Of course not. You'd never want to see something like that, but it's weird how television works.
Yeah, and then they did it again a following season with The Situation and Ronnie, right? Didn't they get into it? And that fight was dumb. Remember that?
Is that when The Situation headbutted the wall or something like that?
Yeah, and then he was like Gus Farrat, and then he came back with a neck brace and everything. He was like, get real. Hell yeah. Mark is in studio, George, from
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He's laughing, so he got the Gus Farrat reference, right? You remember that when he did that? What a dope.
Very cool, man. From Bagram in Phoenix in Afghanistan. That's right. Mark, sorry I couldn't be in studio with you today, but thanks for coming out to the studio to visit us. And I know you can hear us. I know you can't say nothing back. So at least I wanted to convey my messages. I'm going to try and get in there maybe in the next week or two to join the boys. Boy, do I miss it. And it's opportunities like this. Tomorrow we also have an in-studio guest co-host. We're going to have Joey Rouquette come back, and he's going to co-host. And but I'm definitely improving. I had a session today. It goes at 7 a.m. So the knee's feeling pretty good because after the session, after they work the knee, I get the icing, and so the swelling goes down. So that's usually when I'm feeling all right.
Oh, at least there's an improvement. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. All right. 866-522-2846. Remember, that's the number to call in. And the first hour is probably the best time to get on in here because the show, again, is pretty packed up. I just threw the names out there, but I'll just take them one by one. First guest will be Campbell McLaren coming up here in about 25 minutes. He is the CEO of Combate America. Campbell's going old school. You know, he's part of that first regime with the UFC back when it was, you know, before even Zuffa. And, you know, that's when they had the one-night, 8-man tournaments. Hell, one time I think they went 16 deep. Hoist Gracie having to dig deep and win 4 that night. But that's his plan. He wants to take 8 bantamweights, each one representing a different country, for $100,000. Combate America in Cancun, Mexico. We'll talk to him about that. Also, Alexander Shlemenko stopping by. He headlines Bellator 185 on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern start time on Spike. His opponent, Gegard Mousasi, who used to, you know, crush people in the UFC. He's taking his talents over to Bellator. Huge fight for both guys. John Castaneda, who's actually going to be in that tournament, the Combate Americas tournament in Cancun, Mexico. He's one of the participants. He's representing the United States. He'll be a guest of ours. And then Mackenzie Dern, 4-0, a decorated grappler, now 4-0 in mixed martial arts. Got a win this past Friday night, submission, of course. However, some striking was shown off. So we'll talk to that lovely young lady in the second hour. Guys, Holm and Cyborg. What do you think now? You know, now that you're hearing a little bit more and what Cyborg's asking, you guys want to touch on that again? Because that seemed to be pretty huge news if you look at the amount of shares and the amount of clicks that story got.
I still think it's silly. I really do. I mean, I don't want to say who cares, but they're both getting tested. You know, whether one of them gets tested one more time than the other or 3 more times than the other, they're still getting tested. And I want it to be random. I don't want them to know when it's coming. And I just look forward to the fight. But, I mean, I guess they got to do something to build it up. Every once in a while, this little gangster side of Holly will come out where she'll make these comments that are kind of actually pretty funny. And I wish she was like that more often rather than being that, like, farmer's daughter type girl, you know, just the quiet girl. Because I think they really can sell that fight. And I think the styles are going to make for a fun fight. So people definitely need to tune into something like that.
Yeah.
Well, there was a pushback goes, but I don't know that she was much of a gangster. I mean,
well, no, but in the past, like just little quips here and there, you know, like she can when she wants to. You know, it'll come out. But for the most part, she's that sweet, cute girl.
Yeah, I saw a lot of shares of that too, GG. And I guess I'm with Goes where I still think it's silly, but I guess just to add to that, you know what I think it is? I think that we're not seeing it as like a weight cut issue or whatever, fill in the blank. I think we're seeing it as a hula hoop, guys, in other words. And if you follow Cyborg's career, what has there been a lot of? Hula hoops. And I think we're tired of the hula hoops. So when these things come up, it could be energy worth, you know, being used, like Ghost said, to promote the fight. I mean, it's a very promotable fight. This could be, you know, the new vehicle than the Rousey one that's kind of, you know, collected rust and people have kind of given up on that match. This could be the next closest thing, arguably, and I'd like to see that capitalized upon. But we'll see.
You see Paulie Malignaggi?
Oh, no, don't even.
Enough with this guy.
I'll tell you what, though. I will tell you what.
I'll buy it.
I read that, and I agree with Simon Samano. You know, he added to the title of that story, Please, God, no. But here are my thoughts. If he goes that route, I really believe they'll just go, Tony Ferguson, you're our guy. Like, I think it may actually shake. I don't believe the UFC could allow that fight to happen, having an interim champion and not just saying, Conor, go ahead, man. Go ahead and box, and you let us know when you're coming back. By the way, we're still getting a piece of you and Paulie. So you go ahead and do your thing, and we just start building around, you know, Tony Ferguson and that division. And I guess whoever he fights next, that would be a title fight.
Yeah, I mean, division and chaos is definitely, obviously, the main concern there. Middleweight's kind of going through its own dilemma. But my thing is also in the time of history. That's maybe because I'm a little more of a historical guy, but it makes me feel like Randy Couture and BJ Penn guys should be considered in a different. You know, they say this era, the new era, the whatever common era, whatever they call the eras, whatever. It should be separate because. Man, I know McGregor is a 2-divisional champ as well, but let's be honest, guys. Couture, BJ Penn, and Randy Couture chased the best fights out there. Sure, there were contract disputes that may have involved money, but you know, Randy Couture's, you could argue, was for the greater good. He was tackling issues that he was ahead that are being discussed now. He was a little bit ahead on that, whereas BJ, his only issue was he just kind of wanted to fight everybody, and Dana White couldn't let that happen for obvious reasons. And it's just really tough, you know, seeing just, you know, are we going to start, like, you know, making a difference? Because I don't know. Maybe it's just this whole money era thing. It feels like it should be in its own era. I'm going off here.
You know who doesn't get credit for the same thing that Randy and BJ did is Vitor Belfort. He fought everyone.
He did.
Look at the list of guys that Vitor Belfort fought. He's fought everyone, and he's fought them over generations, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's another guy. That's for sure.
There's definitely a lot of guys. Vanderlei Silva, remember he got in that open weight Grand Prix in Pride and wound up having the fight at heavyweight. You know, it went well for him in the Fujita fight. Not so great in the Crow Cop fight. And of course, he did that a couple times. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that guy's been all over the place. Dan Henderson.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a who's who. Middleweight, light heavyweight, and dabbling even with heavyweight. Not just in Pride, but over in Strikeforce.
Yep.
I just think that era, you won't see as much of that unless they bring in 65, 75. Then I could see a few guys floating around between 2 divisions, but it's just going to be so much tougher to do that because, I mean, there's so many high-level fighters now that come at you, and it's really, really tough to maintain these win streaks. Let's take a quick break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, we'll go through some callers. We got some callers in the queue. If you want to join them, it's 866-522-2846. Stay close. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show on Wednesday, October 18th.
compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, I'm going off the cuff here. SiriusXM is now on Amazon Alexa. Just enable the SiriusXM skill, log into your account, and you're going to say something similar to, Alexa, listen to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM. Once you've done that, if you want more information, it's visit SiriusXM.com/Amazon Alexa. Now, obviously, you can fill in any of your favorite shows by saying, Alexa, listen to, fill in the blank, on SiriusXM. It's pretty legit. You got to check it out. Of course, I'm always going to plug the MMA Junkie Radio Show with replays at 8 Eastern p.m. and also the following day, 8 Eastern a.m. Check it out. It's also available in HD quality, commercial-free on the SiriusXM app. Download that bad boy. Let's go to the phone calls here. Got a couple guys lined up. 1, 2, 3. We'll start off with Scott from Utah. What's up, Scott?
What's up, boys?
Hey, Scott.
What's up, Scott?
Hey, I missed Monday's show, but you guys were talking about a movie that you can pause, but you wish you could rewind the scene on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got one from Gally from Toronto. He said Basic Instinct, the Sharon Stone moment.
Oh,
yeah,
my goodness.
Yeah. Well, my scene is like a slow motion scene. I still want to do it. Is when Phoebe Cates came out of the pool in Fast Time in Ridgemont High.
That's a good one, too.
Yes.
And that was in slow motion. But what I'm calling about is this fight was like the Kevin Lee fight. I mean, I know it's been a while, but I'm still amazed that in the interview before the fight, before the weigh-ins, he said he still had 17 or 19 pounds to lose that night. And how do you lose that much weight in one night? I mean, you just take X-Lax up the ass, or what? How do you do it?
Well, I think you swallow X-Lax. No, I'm just kidding. I really don't know. I mean, that'd probably be a good question to ask Mike Dolce. Yeah. I know one thing. I don't think you can really do it in a healthy manner, right? I mean, that seems excessive. You
only float like 2 to 3 at most, and if you've prepped right with diuretics and water loading and all that stuff, I mean, again, anything over 10, even with that weight proportion for a guy, 175, 185, cutting down to 155, even 10 pounds is a lot, they say, so that's, you're right. It can be done. It's not unheard of. It probably was normal for Kevin. It's just, is it healthy?
Right, and now he put his body through a lot more stress being in the heavyweight, in the headline division. The headline slot. He probably did more interviews, got a lot more attention. As you could tell, he definitely had a busy week. He was visiting some of the kids here at some of the hospitals in Las Vegas, and running around and just staying busy, but constantly having to answer that question as well. I bet you there just became a point where the body shut down. Now he's also a little bit older, I guess, by a few months from his previous fight, and at some point, just because you've always done it, it doesn't mean it's always going to work. That's why I believe if you were 19, all these last few fights, and you were able to pull it off, well, guess what? Why not play it safe and start bringing that number down to 16 and 14 and 12 and 10, and until the point where it's very little stress on the body, and reassure yourself that come fight night, 36 hours later, you're going to be close to 100%.
Yeah, does he even get a chance to sleep if he has to lose 19 pounds? I mean, can you sleep that off, being covered up, with blankets and all that, or is he in the sauna all night? I mean, I don't know how you do that.
Well, what's funny is the second season of The Ultimate Fighter was a guy named Ross Poynton, and I remember he lost like 8 or 9 pounds just in his sleep. Obviously using the restroom the next day. Dan pointed out that a lot of people, they'll be able to float 2 or 3, and that usually is normal, but some people can, if they get a good night's sleep, lose more weight. The rest just comes off in different fashions. Some people throw on the plastics and go for a run. Some people just sit in the sauna. Others do get wrapped up, warm towels, hot baths. It's a combo. Everybody has a different approach, but in all of them, you are losing water.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good day.
All right, bud. Thanks for the call. Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, man?
What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
Showtime.
What's going on? What's going on? Hey, I'm jumping in on the Cyborg Holly fight antics now, man. I would love to see the fight. I really think Cyborg will brutally beat Holly up. You know, honestly, I think that's how it'll play out. But I want to see the fight because you really don't have a lot of people that want to fight Cyborg. Just think, the lady that beat Holly in a close fight was scared to fight Cyborg. So I don't see it ending well for Holly, to be honest. Hey, you know, let me ask you guys something, because I've heard a whole lot of things about Holly. I've heard that she's actually not as sweet as you think she is once you finally meet her. I mean, I don't know. I haven't ever met her. I was just wondering. I heard that kind of from a reliable source, though. I know you guys probably have met her, you know, in person.
I've met her one time, and it was a very just generic conversation, not anything that somebody should be peppy about. So I probably can't comment too much on it, but I have actually heard some of those things as well. Showtime. How about you, George?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I've heard that, man. I've heard it from a lot of people. She's not very pleasant around the fans. And you hear it once or twice. Well, maybe you had a bad interaction. Maybe your approach sucked, but I've heard it a lot. And what sucks is I've heard her give some really great interviews. The one with Larry King after she knocked out Ronda Rousey was amazing. You know, she really came off great. And so these conflicting stories of just seeing how she's like, you know, in one setting versus another, you know, I don't know. I've never actually met her. So I could tell you, I really couldn't tell you. And when she was on our show, the one time we had her on the show via the phone, she was very, very pleasant. I enjoyed it. So, yeah, I'm conflicted, man. But it's not to say I don't believe the junkies, though. There's no way they're not going to shoot me straight. It's a lot of the ones that have a lot of interactions with fighters. So I don't know what it is about that setting that she just, you know, maybe doesn't enjoy or whatever. And to be fair, it's been when she's fighting, when, of course, the fighters' moods, you know, their anxiety levels are a little bit played around with because of the weight cuts or whatever. And it's also been in a setting where they were a featured fighter. So they had no weight cut. They weren't fighting. They weren't doing interviews or lacking sleep or, you know, approaching hand-to-hand combat, you know, within a few days. It was nothing like that. So I don't know. I think I'm hearing what you're hearing.
Yeah, that's funny. And I know I had a chance to meet Cyborg, and, man, she was actually pleasant, a sweetheart, actually. That's
super cool.
Honestly,
yeah.
You know, just know what's funny, too? I met Joanna Champion several times. For her to be such a brutal lady in that octagon, she is a sweetheart in person, too. So, oh, well, who knows? I want to see the fight, though, man. I kind of like the little back and forth, you know.
I'll tell you this much. You seem to think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a really close fight, and I think Holmes got some avenues to victory, you know, because she'll be very well coached. And I don't know that she'll just be such an easy target as others have been for Cyborg. Now, that said, gun to the head, yeah, you know, Cyborg's pretty athletic, pretty strong, pretty violent. That's probably the name I would submit. But, you know, depending on the odds, I can't tell you right now who I would bet. All I know is I think it would be a really, really good fight.
Yeah, I do, too. I want to see it on that last card of the year in Vegas. You probably won't get it then, but that would be a good card, I think, to put it on.
Yep. Thanks for the call, buddy. We got to get on here.
Hi,
Let's go to Orlando in Connecticut. What's up, Orlando?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I have a question. Would you guys watch the Paulie Malignaggi fight and Connor if it was in the cage? And I also wanted to thank George and Fight TV for the stream for the Triple G fight. And I hope you're recovering pretty well.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That was what can I tell you, man? That was a controversial night, that's for sure. I walked away thinking, just what the fuck with boxing, because I thought Triple G had won the fight, but you know, gave us something to talk about, and I guess they'll have to run it back next Cinco de Mayo. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. What was your first comment question? Though, sorry.
Sorry, I'm on a new headset, so I don't know if you guys can hear me well enough. But it was, would you guys watch the Paulie Malignaggi Connor fight if it was in the cage?
Yes.
In the UFC.
I actually don't mind it if it were in a ring either.
Interested in it if it's boxing, right?
I would watch both. I'll be 100% honest. I would watch both. I probably wouldn't be too happy about the boxing if it causes the division to be held back again. But if it was a thing where Conor just relinquished and this is just what he does now, I'd watch. There's heat. I'm down.
Hot take.
Yeah, if he relinquishes, then do what you want, Conor, you know, at this point. But otherwise, if he's holding up the division, that sucks, Dan.
Oh, I was just going to say hot take because what you guys talked about earlier, you know, you kind of held Gigi to it about, come on, would you really not watch it? I would really hold me to this. I would really not watch it, whether it's in a cage or a boxing match, if it's Conor's very next fight. Just out of being a contrarian, just out of my values for the division. My favorite divisions, by the way, 145, 155, is arguably the deepest divisions in MMA right now. Out of spite, I would not watch it. Y'all can hold me, listen, you can hold me to that if that's Conor's next fight.
Cool.
All right, my man.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good day, all right?
All right, take care, buddy. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, Campbell McLaren will join us from Combate Americas. We'll talk about that big tournament that's coming up on November 11th. $100,000 is the prize for the 8-man international one-night tournament. Stay close, folks.
You know that scene in Star Wars where Darth Vader tells Luke he's his father? What if I walked in right after with my voice and was like, I'm your Uncle Walter. Can I get a lift home? That'd be crazy, right? Anyway, here Georgian goes.
SiriusXM presents an exclusive subscriber-only event, The Eagles, live at the Grand Ole Opry. You can win a trip to Nashville and front row tickets. For more information and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Eagles before October 19th. That's tomorrow. If you're listening, if you're paying attention, no additional purchase is necessary.
Campbell said.
All right. Our first guest is ready to go. He is the CEO of Combate Americas. And remember, on November 11th, Copa Combate is headed your way. It's going to be a one-night international 8-man tournament. Going old school here. Joining us now on the hotline is Campbell McLaren. What's up, Campbell? How you doing?
So well, you can't believe it. You know, if things keep going like this for Combate, my head is going to explode. It's just amazing what's going on. And you just called it Telemundo, right? The #1 Spanish network in the U.S. And on many a weekend, it becomes the #2 network overall. It beats Fox, beats ABC. So it's amazing to have this sort of broadcast coverage. And we are about to announce the new English language simulcast. I can't announce it yet, but I can tease it a little bit because that network also has the letters NBC in it. But I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I'm throwing a secret. I can't tell you. But it's going to be a simulcast in English and in Spanish. And then you guys know we go around the entire fucking planet now. You know, we've got a deal in Spain, ESPN in Latin America, and, of course, our Mexican brothers every week, where we continue to demolish the UFC in TV ratings. So, you know, we're actually doubling the UFC's TV ratings in Spain too, for what it's worth. I'm not keeping track though. I don't take that close track of what's going on. I don't know.
Well, congratulations.
I did, but did I mention we're doubling them in Spain and something like 6 times the ratings in Mexico? So
you did.
On Telemundo. Maybe we can beat the Fox UFC ratings on Telemundo.
Well, yes, we were going to get to the Telemundo. I'm glad you brought that up. That right there is a power move because Telemundo is a giant for the Spanish-speaking audience. Congratulations on that. That's a huge deal. Of course, you are teasing the other one that involves the letters NBC. I imagine this will be hopefully in time for the 8-man international one-night tournament.
Oh, absolutely. That's the point. In fact, we were trying. You know, we love you guys. We were going to try to make this announcement on your show, but we're one step away. We'll probably announce that, and that will be English-speaking fans will be able to see it in a great TV platform for the Copa Combate, which is 24 years from the day. 24 years since I did UFC 1's tournament. So there's been a couple smaller versions of tournaments, but nothing like this. 8 countries represented. One guy's going to win. I am so looking forward to it. I can't believe it. You know, obviously John Castaneda, the U.S. fighter, great guy. The UFC was trying to steal him away. Fuck you. Leave him alone. He's my guy. Marcelo Roja from Argentina, who is as bad a badass as I have seen. The UFC also after him. You know, I think we put together a real world-class group of exciting new fighters. These guys are the best new fighters. They really are, and all of them have an exciting style. You got folks, you know, like our fighter representing Puerto Rico. You know he's going to bring it. He brings the entire nation on his shoulders. That entire island is going to be looking for him to win. We've got a Spanish entry, Colombia. Of course, Mexico. Our guy from Mexico is a fucking killer. So,
and Peru.
And of course, we have a country that your listeners will know very well, the country of Texas. The Republic of Texas is represented with our very own Ricky Palacio. And for Ricky, who just as I don't think Ricky can be beaten, but the thing is, Ricky needs to start wearing Spanx. Do you know those, like the girdle thing that guys wear? Because he can't make weight. He can't fucking make weight. He trains in a goddamn taco truck. But the guy is probably one of the toughest fighters at 135 that you can imagine. You can't knock him out. So I got to say, Texas may walk away with the $100,000 prize.
There you have it. UFC co-founder and current CEO of Combate Americas, Campbell McLaren, on the hotline with us here. Goes and Dan, Tom, what do you have for Campbell McLaren?
Campbell, I have to imagine that when you first started this, the tournament was something you wanted to get to, right? Was this an idea from the very beginning?
Absolutely. The tournament, you know, it's epic, right? I mean, it's epic. But you got to do it the right way. I have never had an interest in recreating the work I did at the UFC. The first 12 that I executive produced had some of the highest buy rates if you add up the pay-per-view universe that we had then compared to now. If we'd have been doing those events today, we'd have, all of them have been over 1 million buy. So I was doing extraordinary work. The early days of the UFC was just awesome. We were on Friends, Mad Magazine. We're everywhere. Later on, when it took the downturn and all the political problems, I was gone at that point, and I'm glad I missed it. But I've never wanted to recreate anything. But doing this World Cup style for Copa Combate is awesome. Think about it. You're bringing in a fighter to represent an entire country. So, in addition to wanting the cash, because $100,000 is a real first prize, right? And I saw, what's his name, the Irish fighter, Uncle Creepy, Uncle Ugly, Uncle Dirty, who's
Ian
Connor's
McCall?
friend said he would... Yes, yeah. His nickname, forgive me, I just butchered it. I only pay attention
You got it, Uncle Creepy.
Uncle Creepy. He said he'd fight for $100,000. If I was interested in an Irish contestant, I would have put him in. But I think what's interesting is you come and you represent your national honor in this tournament. But speaking of national honor, listen, I really have to talk to you guys. People have been asking me about what I've been saying about racism on Twitter. And it's not just Kevin Iole I want to call out. And we do have, some interesting stuff on Kevin. But I tell you guys, MMA Junkie, what the fucking fuck? You guys on your events calendar, you don't cover us. You guys have streaming service, MMA organizations on there. Nothing about Telemundo, a U.S. broadcast network. You guys put it. Look, God bless RFA and some of the smaller orgs. They should have the support. But dude, we're on in 21 countries. Dudes, I should say, caballeros. We're on in 21 countries. 21 fucking countries. I'm beating the fucking UFC in many of those fucking countries. Let me tell you something. We're the #2 fight organization in the world. We just are. And we're just getting better and bigger. And the fact that Dan Stumpy won't cover us at MMA Junkie, what the fuck, you guys? You need to get on the same page as every major media organization around the world. You've got to look at this and go, this isn't about one particular culture. This is about the most exciting new fighters in the world, the biggest TV platform in the world, a chance to really reinvigorate the sport I created 24 years ago, and you guys are missing the fucking boat. And I'm frankly, I'm surprised at you. I would have thought that you would have a sense that something Hispanic would be interesting.
I've been telling them Hispanics are causing panic left and right. We got to get on this, but we'll definitely pass that on, Campbell. We're the radio guys. We just show up and do the radio thing, but we can definitely bring that up for you.
I know, but I figured I would use your great platform to get the message out.
Campbell, another message that we want to get out. People are asking, what's the format for the tournament as far as round length, all that stuff? Will there be any altered rules, no elbows, anything like that?
Well, we're going to have both the Mexican National Athletic Board will cover it, and ISKA. ISKA, of course, has been around forever. We are going to do the qualifying round will be 1 5-minute round, and then the next round is 3 3-minute rounds, and the final will be 3 3-minute rounds. So it's a format that they've used around the world. ISKA likes it a lot. What you need to do is make sure no fighter fights an aggregate total of more than 25 minutes. So it's set up like that. It's also really set up for action. When I did the Iron Ring, which was the hip-hop version of the UFC, if you will, which also beat the UFC in ratings when I was on BET, which is Black Entertainment Television. When did the MMA world get totally racist, by the way? What happened? I'm leading the charge, right? So that show beat The Ultimate Fighter in TV ratings. But everybody was mad at me because I had a bunch of hip-hop guys come in and do that. But when we did that show, we did 5-minute rounds. And what happens is sort of a winner-go-home format for that first round of qualifying. It's really exciting. There may not be a lot of strategy involved in a 5-minute round, but there's a heck of a lot of action involved in a 5-minute round. So it's a great way to kick off the tournament.
Well, Campbell, Dan Tom here, and I train at Extreme Couture, so training with guys like Gustavo Lopez, I definitely appreciate what Combate Americas is doing and the opportunities you guys are providing. But I guess my question is not just providing good fights and having kind of an angle on it, so to speak, that I think MMA, the oversaturation, is kind of lost. Furthermore, you guys are kind of meeting in the middle. I see you guys recently reached out and wished Juliana Pena well, who's done host work for you guys and so on and so forth. Is there any future plans on reaching out, bringing in any names, maybe not even in a fighting capacity, to contribute to Combate Americas?
Well, obviously, Gil Melendez and Juliana Pena have been announcers with us for a long, long time. I want to congratulate Juliana Pena on her pregnancy. Beautiful woman, a great fighter, a dear friend, and looking forward to that blessed event. So that's great. But, you know, what I've wanted to do is bring in folks that made sense for Combate as TV commentators. There's another fight organization that's sort of the retirement home for the UFC. That's great. Long may they wave. What I'm doing is I'm finding the next crop of guys. The UFC has everyone 25 to 35 years old signed up, locked. I'm not going after guys that are already contractually obligated to another organization. I'm looking for the Gustavo Lopez's. Who's the guys that in the next 3 to 5 years become the best fighters in the world? That right now we've got them, training them, developing them. I think John Castaneda is a great example of this. Great athlete, very smart, came off a win in the UFC's Contender Series. I think that he represents the future. Marcelo Rojo from Argentina represents the future. These guys are exciting. They're doing a new style of MMA that's less grappling-based, more stand-up, very fast, mixing in a lot of different disciplines. I think we see some Taekwondo moves that we don't see that much. People are going to high kicks, spinning elbows. What we're looking at is the most exciting style of MMA. Always glad to have my friends from UFC come and sit in the booth. It's great. They're knowledgeable, and so certainly Gil Melendez, started out in Strikeforce. He knows the business. Juliana Pena, we love her.
Folks, it all goes down on November 11th. Copa Combate takes place in Cancun, Mexico. It begins at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It is on Telemundo, the Spanish powerhouse that is Telemundo. Again,
number one Spanish network in the U.S., yo.
Huge deal. And of course, some of the names that have already been tossed in there are John Castaneda, Marcelo Rojo, Carlos Rivera, Mike Urrutia, Mark Gomez, Andres Ayala, and Peruvian Kevin Moreira, as well as Ricky Palacios. So definitely.
You guys know what's going on in Peru? Have you been following that? Peru has friggin' exploded. Like there's an MMA explosion down there. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, there's some great athletes there.
Debate and on the front page of who should represent Peru in the Copa. I mean, it's really amazing. I had no idea. We found out about this about a year ago. And it's startling. The talent is really developing. I think it's got a little bit of ways to go, but the absolute interest in the sport is just phenomenal. I mean, it's phenomenal.
It is. I agree. Campbell, thanks so much for coming on the show. You were really, really fired up.
Don't forget, you're thanking me for accusing you of racism.
No, that part we're not thanking you for, but definitely we will speak to the editorial department. And thank you for joining us on the show. We definitely look forward to the lead up to Copa Combate on November 11th.
Thanks very much. Big fans of the show, guys.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. All right, folks, that's Campbell McLaren. I want to thank Mikey Ephraim for lining that one up. And again, Campbell on Twitter is at Campbell Combate. Let me send it over to Danny Otto. He's got our bit for MMA History Today. And, of course, follow our friends at MMA History Today at MMA History Today.
All right, guys, so I'll make it as quick as possible. 15 years ago today, so October 18th, 2002, Gilbert Melendez made his professional MMA debut when he finished Greg Kwan. And I still have no idea who Greg Kwan is.
Yeah, no. Neither do I. And I can tell you, I've seen a lot of Gilbert Melendez's fights, and he's going to go down as one of the greatest lightweights of all time. For sure, top 10, maybe top 5. I don't know how you'd have to break it down, but he's a former WEC champion, a former Strikeforce champion, of course. He was one split decision away from being a UFC champion. He's got great wins. He's got quality losses. He really did have an amazing record. He's from the mean streets of Santa Ana, just like Goz and I, except he's from the soft part over there on the north side by Santa Ana High and First Street, and I don't know. Come to the south. Come to the south side, up by South Coast Metro. That's where gangsters get down right there.
Yeah.
All right, folks. This is the end of the first hour. When we come back, we will talk to Alexander Shlemenko and his translator, Alexi. So stay close, folks. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show on SiriusXM Rush 93. second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. We are going to be joined by Alexander Shlemenko and his translator, Alexi. Quick notes on Alexander Shlemenko. He's a two-time Bellator tournament winner. He had the middleweight title at one point with 3 successful title defenses, also a former M1 Global Middleweight Grand Prix champion. Alexander Shlemenko's fought many times. He's got 56 wins. 31 of them have come by KO. He does not mess around once he gets inside the cage. He will be fighting on Friday. And, of course, Spike has you covered, as always, for Bellator. It's Bellator 185, 9 p.m. Eastern start time. The prelims on MMA Junkie at 7 p.m. Eastern start time. Gegard Mousasi, Alexander Shlemenko. I cannot wait. And he joins us now on the hotline. Hello, Alexander. Hello, Alexi. How you guys doing?
Hello. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Hey, man, great to have you on the show. And I wanted to ask you, as far as Mousasi's concerned, this guy's coming over from the UFC. Do you ever feel like there's been a rivalry when you've had to fight fighters that come over from the UFC just because you've represented Bellator for so many years as a champion, as a guy that's got a lot of fights under your belt with Bellator?
Чувствуешь ли ты, что ты будешь драться с Мусаси, как ты боец Беллатора против его бойца UFC, что есть такое противостояние?
Ну, если так разобраться, то, конечно же, оно есть, оно присутствует, но для меня важнее не это. Я давно знаю Мусаси, я давно видел, как мы с ним дрались на бодок, как мы с ним дрались на М1. И я тогда еще подумал, что я с ним могу встретиться. И вот я встретился, и у меня есть шанс доказать, что лучше.
Well, if you think about it, yes, there is a rivalry. I represent Bellator, he kind of represents UFC, but it doesn't really important for me. What is important is I've followed his career for many years. I remember both of us at one point fought for Bodog Fight Organization. Before that, both of us fought for M1 Organization. And even back then, I thought that, you know what, someday there is a chance that we are going to face each other. And this day is coming on Friday.
Alexander, when you enter the cage, do you think to yourself closer to, I want to kick this guy's ass in a violent fashion, or do you think more to the side of, I am competing on a professional level against another professional? In other words, how tuned in do you get to the fight? You know, more on the side of violence and versus, I guess, a professional competition.
Когда выходишь в клетку, как ты себя настраиваешь, какой у тебя мысли в голове? То есть, либо я хочу этого парня сейчас там поломать, убить, или я профессиональный боец, я выступаю как профессионал, сейчас я буду заниматься спортом. То есть, как бы ты оценил, как ты себя какой у тебя настрой внутренний перед боем?
Ну, во-первых, на каждого соперника по-разному, но в большинстве случаев, конечно же, это настрой, что я хочу тебя поломать.
It differs from fight to fight depending on the opponent, but most of the time I want to kill them. I just want to break them.
Yes, I love that. I love that answer. Well, maybe not kill, but yeah, but hurt them. I understand that part. How about Mousasi? Where does he fit? Is this a competition, or is there going to be some violence on Friday?
По поводу Мусаси, это для тебя будет как соревнование, или это будет именно такой настрой, как ты сейчас сказал, такой жесткий?
Ну, вообще, профессиональный спорт для меня это вообще жесткий спорт. Он всегда с самого начала был, и это исключение. Здесь будет точно так же. Я не работаю на очки, я не стараюсь выиграть каждый раунд, я стараюсь на получить.
Even though this is obviously a professional sport for me, but you know what? I never fought to win on points. I never tried, to score several points and then backpedal. I always go for a kill. And this fight is no different from the others. So, yes, it's a professional fight, but at the same time, as I said, this is a very tough and brutal sport, the way I see it. And that's what I'm going to bring to the cage.
Alexander, you won, between 2011 and 2014, you won like 12, 13 consecutive fights. Then you dropped a couple. Since then, out of your last 7 fights, you haven't lost. You have a 5-fight win streak. Of course, you have that no contest in there, and then there was another win. But you've been on a great streak. What did you change in 2014 after the back-to-back losses that has allowed you to now get back to your winning ways?
У тебя была большая череда побед между 11 и 14 годом, потом 2 поражения, сейчас опять череда побед. Что ты поменял после этих 2 поражений в 2014 году, что позволяет тебе сейчас опять выигрывать?
Да, хорошо, что вы заметили. Самое главное, в 2014 году я совершил ошибки и перешел на вегетарианский диету. Это послужило мне потере титула и 2 поражениями подряд. Все это время я пытался восстановиться и вернуться в те самые кондиции, в которые были до этой вегетарианской диеты. И я считаю, что их набрал вернуться. Показатель этому тот мой бой, который был за 25 секунд против Брэндона Хоуси. В последний раз я стал сильнее, и я хочу это доказать.
That's a good thing that you noticed. In that 2 losses, I made a huge mistake. I became vegan, and that cost me a loss of my middleweight belt title, and that cost me the 2 consecutive losses. I became much weaker as a fighter and everything. So what I was doing after that, I tried to get back in shape. I was trying to get back to become a fighter I used to be before that experiment with being vegan. And if you take a look at that, I think the best proof that I'm back in a good shape is my 25 seconds win over Brendan Halsey, to whom I previously lost to, also in a very short fight. But now I am as strong and I feel as good as I used to feel prior to that 2014 vegan experiment that I had.
Alexander Shlemenko is our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. He headlines Bellator 185 on Friday. Spike has you covered. It's a 9 p.m. Eastern start time, and if you have DirecTV, here's the shortcut. Just put it on channel 241. Of course, that's 6 p.m. for the West Coast, and of course, MMA Junkie's got you covered for the prelims at 7 Eastern, 4 on the West Coast. All right, back to the Mandalay Bay. Goes and Dan, Tom, what do you have for Alexander Shlemenko?
Alexander, with this being a new environment for Gegard Mousasi in Bellator, a round cage, things are a little bit different. Does he expect him to maybe start a little slower because of this?
Как ты думаешь, для Гейгара это будет первый бой в Беллаторе. Будет круглая клетка, учитывая, что первый бой в этом промоушене, как ты думаешь, может быть, он начнет свой бой так медленно, аккуратно, поскольку для него это его первый опыт здесь?
Нет, мне кажется, что он начнет наоборот. Для него это большой шанс, и он захочет его использовать, чтобы его запомнили ярко, чтобы его приход был яркий. Он захочет сделать красивый бой. Поэтому, естественно, я думаю, что он вряд ли будет осторожен. Может быть, в первом раунде.
I don't. Maybe he would be a little bit cautious in the first round, but I don't think so. I think that he wants to make a statement. It's going to be his first fight in Bellator, and he wants to show a spectacular fight, and that's why I think that he would just go at it. So I don't think that he would be too cautious about that.
Alexander's faced a lot of great fighters in his career so far, in and out of his weight class. Where does he feel like Gegard Mousasi ranks amongst those fighters?
То есть с многими бойцами встречался, в своем категории больше. Как бы ты поставил Гейгарда Мусаси среди тех бойцов, с кем ты уже соперничал?
Ну, бесспорно, да, наверное, это является одним. На данный момент это точно один из самых сильных бойцов, с которыми я встречался. На тот момент, когда я с ними встречался, тут большой вопрос. Да, а на данный момент, естественно, он является выше всех в рейтингах, и, естественно, он их всех может выиграть.
If you speak about the present time, then I would say yes, he's probably today he's the top ranked, the toughest fighter than I've ever faced. If you speak about him like back then when I faced other top competition that I faced, that's a different story. But today, yes, he ranks the highest, and he's probably the best guy I've ever faced.
I noticed that Alexander was training a little bit over here in the States, different places. I noticed he was training with Jason Perillo at Rufka Gym. Now, Perillo used to coach a former opponent, Tito Ortiz. Can you tell me how that relationship came about, and if there's anything he was able to pick up from Coach Perillo?
Тут тренировался лично Джейсон Фурило, который в свое время тренировал своего бывшего оппонента Тита Тима. Как ты с ним начал общаться, и как тренировки проходили?
Ну, первый раз мы еще с ним начали общаться, когда мы помогали готовиться к BJP. Это еще давно было, когда мой ученик Андрей Корешков спарринговал с ним. Нет, Корешков спарринговал. Андрей спарринговался, когда мы познакомились и периодически заезжали, помогали готовиться Майклу Бисмингу. В другое время тоже в зале Рука я с ним спарринговался. У нас были нормальные отношения. Сейчас просто предоставилась такая возможность, конечно же, я воспользовался, потому что считаю, что здесь он большой опыт, и он может что-то подсказать и что-то передать полезно.
Well, we know each other for a long time because, many years ago, we helped him when my student Andrei Koreshkov he sparred with BJ Penn, helping him to get ready for the fight. I myself sparred with Michael Bisping quite a few occasions, also in Ruka gym, helping them out. So we knew each other for a long time, and it's always a pleasure to work with a very professional that Jason is, and this time was no different. He helped us.
Folks, it all goes down on Friday. Gegard Mousasi versus Alexander Shlemenko in the main event at Bellator 185. Alexander and Alexei, spasiba. Thank you very much for doing the MMA Junkie Radio Show. We really appreciate it. Do you want to say anything to the fans that are listening before we let you go?
Yes, thank you, fans, American, all Russian fans. Thank you for your support. This is really important for me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. All right. Thanks, Alexei.
Yep, thank you, guys.
All right, take care. See you guys. All right, folks, that's Alexander Shlemenko and his translator, Alexei. Great fight versus Gegard Mousasi. These guys are going to go at it, man. This is going to be a really, really solid main event for Bellator out in Uncasville, Connecticut. Hopefully I got that right. I know in the past I've gotten some grief over how I pronounce Uncasville, something, at the Mohegan Sun Arena. Maybe I should just say it that way. And Spike has you covered with a 9 p.m. Eastern start time. Oh, man. That dude's laser focused, isn't he?
Yeah, dude. But I like what he says. I like all the things that he talks about. And even when you hear Alexei saying whatever it is he's saying, you can almost understand what he's saying. I mean, I speak zero Russian, but I can almost get it just by his inflection in his voice and all that.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, so we have a few more guests coming out your way. But again, we have these pockets where we can take some calls. 866-522-2846. John Sexy Mexi Castaneda will join us in about 8 minutes, and Mackenzie Dern will be our last guest of the day. She's coming up in a few minutes as well. So, again, pick your spots here if you want to call in and talk about this great sport of ours. Give some predictions. Shlemenko, Mousasi, Till versus Cowboy. Give me a parlay for crying out loud. I've been stacking some paper. I can throw something on one of these parlays if Junkie Nation has one for me. So spit one out on the YouTube chat, youtube.com/MMA Junkie Video or facebook.com/official MMA Junkie. I will send Goes with $20 and he can put one in for me over there at the Mandalay Bay. Get paid right away. That's for sure. Guys, who do you like in the Mousasi-Shlemenko fight?
I like Gegard Mousasi. I feel like Shlemenko's gone, right?
He is?
He's not on hold, right?
He's gone.
Right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like Mousasi, dude. That guy's on a roll. I think he's really just believing in himself right now. I really like his game, the way how he can keep that distance and pop those strikes from far away, but also close the distance and make it a nightmare on guys. I really like him in this fight. Totally picking him. And to go back on what you said, George, about the parlays, I believe, don't quote me on this, Dan Tom, you might remember this, but the last time we did that parlay where we all picked one, didn't we hit it?
Oh, we hit it, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we can do that again.
We had a lot of chalk on the line, so it was a lot easier than to most parlays, but yeah, we technically would have won.
But we're speaking to ballers.
Yeah.
We could have rolled that over and so yeah, put one together. Who do you like, Dan Tom? Mousasi or Shlemenko?
I like Mousasi, but I'll say this. Not only does the UFC guy going to Bellator thing kind of scare me, because Bellator, if you notice, a lot of sharps will be a little more careful with their plays there, because we'll see a lot of intangibles, right? A lot of guys you don't know about beating guys you do know about. But not only that, guys, it's like Mousasi's one of those guys where it's like, well, everything but a Hail Mary punch will probably, you should probably own this. And we've seen that Hail Mary come through in Japan with Uriah Hall. And Shlemenko's a guy that's not going to be afraid to chase that Uriah Hall moment. So that's what has me worried. But I haven't looked at a price on Mousasi, but I imagine he's got to be somewhere in 3-to-1 odds before the public goes and takes that number and probably shoots it up. If you can catch him when he's not too high, maybe worth a look there.
I'll tell you the odds right now.
All right.
Mousasi minus 605.
Whoa.
Shlemenko comes back at plus 465. What I'm waiting to see is what the over-under is going to be. I got a feeling both guys are going to come to the middle of the cage and basically go off. Think about it. Mousasi got signed. He wants a title shot. He wants to make a statement. So he's going to go after it. And Shlemenko only knows one speed. He goes after that. He goes out to rip your hat off, by evidenced by his 31 KO. So I think I'm going to position myself and see if I can take an under in the on the total. Let's talk to Brandon in Louisville. He called in on the hotline. What's up, Brandon? What's on your mind?
Hey, boys. How y'all doing today?
Good, man.
If you want to tip on your parlay, I'll give you one. Do not bet on the Louisville Cardinal football team.
Yeah, we've been on that for the last few weeks.
It has been shit on a shingle. So they're starting to really stack up the cards. 218 is getting loaded up. They're starting to announce stuff for new 19s. What do y'all think is going to be the big New Year's card this year? Are they hoping for Connor? Is it going to be Cormier, Cyborg? We're starting to get to the point where all the champs are getting booked up to where it's going to be a real fast turnaround for them.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because if Tony and Connor can headline UFC 219, the rest of the card doesn't have to be that great. They'll hit their gate, they'll hit a good mark on the gate, and they'll hit a good mark on the pay-per-views, and then they'll use some of that other talent to start 2018 off on the right foot. I mean, I think they still have to give you something quality, because you have to account for injuries and things like that. But that's one of those cards that I don't think will be as stacked. Now, what they've already committed to, though, is Dominic Cruz and Jimmy Rivera. So I imagine that would be your co-main event. DC, I think, has been very clear about the fact that he won't fight in 2017, and I think that's the right call. That was a pretty brutal KO that he took, and at this point, let's just get through the end of the year and start the year off. I think maybe February or March he was interested in, before those months of WrestleMania. But Cindy Cavillo and Carlos Esparza, Luis Smoka, Matthias Nicolau, Carlos Condit, Neil Magny, Gokhan Saki, Khalil Roundtree. So you have 5 fights that I've heard of. Maybe Jury versus Glenn, I think, is another one that was thrown on there. But this is a card that, again, won't need that much at the top if they can land McGregor and Tony Ferguson. And I have to believe that that's what everyone's gunning for. As noted by Shamak Karsandu, one thing Conor really wanted to do was strike hard on the Forbes list. He got a huge payday through the fight with Floyd Mayweather, and if he can get one more here, to end the year with the UFC, who knows where that'll put him. But that, McGregor's ego-driven, so I could see that being, a huge move for him. And then Tony Ferguson said he came out of that fight unscathed, and he was ready to go at the end of the year if it was to get done. So as far as if that doesn't go through, I don't know where we start, honestly.
You don't have very many options.
Cyborg and Holmes being talked about, could that be your headline bout? I don't know. I'd have to go back and see how Cyborg does on her pay-per-views. The pay-per-views have really, really been low this year. So I imagine that they're hoping that McGregor and Ferguson can help things out.
I got a bold prediction.
Sure.
I got a bold prediction here. The Brock was the wild card of UFC 200, right, guys? When things were falling out, they brought Brock in. So my original wild card would be like, okay, they're going to do maybe a super fight with like DC and Stipe, but DC's waiting on fighting this year and even going up to heavyweight, and both those don't look good. What about a wild card here? You bring in a Rumble Johnson versus a Stipe. Just a complete wild card. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's, that it doesn't fit the meritocracy, not that they're going by that anymore. But what's the worst that could happen? You have Ngannou or Overeem make a statement win, and then you have, if Johnson were to upset the whole title picture and knock off Stipe out of nowhere, you tell me people are going to be upset with either a rematch or having Anthony Johnson versus Ngannou or something like that. It kind of brings that wild card. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't really affect any other division because AJ's retired.
And then you pair it up with a co-main like a Cyborg versus Holly Holm. I mean, not ideal, but as far as, again, it's slim pickings. I mean, as far as a plan B, that could be a wild card. I don't know. We'll see.
What I want to know, too, is what's Nate Diaz like if he's not partnered up with Conor McGregor? You know what I mean? Like, can he bring 500,000 on this? I mean, his social media blew up.
I don't think so.
And Conor McGregor wasn't hitting a million until he had the Diaz brother as a dance partner. So I'm just curious, like at some point in time, if they're not going to give him his 20 million, but they'll obviously give him a handsome payday, and if he just has to go out and headline his own cards or do whatever, what's that guy going to be like? As far as Nick, wow, it just doesn't seem like he's interested in fighting, so we'll just leave him off to the side. But there's a couple things to consider there. All right, folks. I believe we have to take a break here, right, Danny? Is that what we're on schedule for?
Yep.
Let's do that. Yeah. Bye, Brandon. All right, let's take our break now. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius 6M Rush 93. You're my dog, Brandon. Just playing around.
underground TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
SiriusXM presents an exclusive subscriber-only event, The Eagles, live at the Grand Ole Opry. You can win a trip to Nashville and front row tickets. For more information and to enter, go to SiriusXM.com/Eagles before October 19th. That's tomorrow, bitches. No additional purchase necessary. I threw in the bitches part. Don't hold SiriusXM to that one. We spoke to Campbell McLaren earlier. He is the CEO of Combate Americas. We were talking about Copa Combate that takes place on November 11th. 8 tough hombres will be competing in a one-night tournament for $100K. One of them joins us here on the line, John Castaneda, who will be representing the U.S. of A. What's up, Sexy Mexi? How you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome, man. Hey, how do you even begin training for something like this? You really can't train for anyone specific. I think you just want to have strong cardio and like a generic game plan of going in there, handling your business, and getting out quickly, right, and start to prepare for the next fight.
Right. So I'm sure every one of us has like a different, strategy as to how we're preparing for it. I'm doing it a little differently. So I just found out a couple of days ago what the outline is for every single, I guess, like the structure of every round. So the first fight is going to be a 1 5-minute round fight. The second fight is going to be 3 3-minute rounds. And then the last fight is actually going to be like the legit professional standard fight, 3 5-minute rounds. So we're trying to implement that into our camp. Just doing a lot of, basically just simulation, do a hard 5-minute round, take a good, 15-minute break, have a 3 by 3 minute fight, and then a 3 by 5 minute fight. In the sense of styles, yeah, you're right. There's not a really easy way to prepare for so many different styles. So what I'm doing is I've done my own research. My coach has done his own research, and we've kind of broken down 2 main fighters, 2, I guess you could say, like biggest threats in the tournament. And I'm kind of implementing my camp around those 2 styles. If I get those fights, perfect. I would have already prepared for them. Otherwise, it's just like any other fight. If I get another fight, it's just like being able to adapt, being able to fight another fight. I've had 16 amateur fights. I've had 16 professional fights. It's over 30 fights. I've seen a lot of different styles. I'm a very adaptable fighter, so it's going to be fun.
John, can you tell us who those 2 wild cards are that you're kind of have a bullseye on?
Yeah, I suppose. It's not going to hurt anyone. Marcelo Rojo from Argentina. And then I forget his name. His nickname is Lufo, though. He's a Spaniard. I actually, while we were in Miami a few weeks ago, Mark Gomez, while we were in Miami a few weeks ago, we did some training together, actually. So I rented a car. I wanted to get my training in while we were there doing some media stuff for the event. And we actually, he asked me if I was going to go train. I said, yep. We ended up training together. And, normally, if you're training with someone that you're about to fight, you usually pick different partners and stuff like that, Well, we ended up pairing with each other for everything, live goes, drilling, everything. And I was like, man, this guy's, like, not bad, I definitely saw some areas on where I definitely had a clear advantage, but, he's still another tough guy. So I'm just, I'm kind of just planning my game plan around those 2 guys right there.
Do you think if we were to interview the other 7 guys and we asked them the same question, do you think your name would pop up as far as like, that's one of the top dogs there, that Sexy Mexi guy?
I would hope so. I think that a lot of those guys, especially fighting for the promotion, Combate Americas, they probably have seen me compete under their banner multiple times. I have the most fights, the most wins for Combate Americas. It only makes sense that I would be one of the biggest threats to them,
Right. John Castaneda, 14-2 overall, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. 6 of those wins by KO, 4 submission. So that's 10 finishes out of 14. He will be fighting in Combate Americas Copa Combate on November 11th. Folks, you can watch the fights on Telemundo. And Campbell McLaren did tell us that soon there will be an announcement for the English-speaking audience. And he teased the letters NBC so you can start to put the math together there. these fights will be available on Fight Night. All right, let me send it over to the boys at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. Goes and Dan Tom, what do you have for John Castaneda?
John, is it all about John Castaneda that night, or is there a little bit of nationalistic pride on the line for yourself?
You know what? I'm not going to lie. In a sense of like every fighter representing their own country, I'm kind of bitter. I'm kind of mad that I'm not representing the country of Mexico. You know, obviously my nickname being Sexy Mexi. I'm very, very proud of my roots. Both my parents are born in Mexico. I was born in the U.S., so it makes sense to me as to why they wanted me to represent the U.S. But, you know, I did want to represent Mexico in this Copa Combate. But absolutely, you know, there's a sense of pride in this. It's one of the top guys, one of the top talents from every country representing their own. So obviously I love the country that I live in as well, you know. So absolutely, there's a lot of pride on the line. It's not just about the Sexy Mexi, but that's kind of ironic, you know, Sexy Mexi representing the U.S. So I'm just going to give it my all, and I'm going to represent the country well.
When we speak to fighters, especially the younger generation, one thing that they always point to about their MMA bucket list is fighting in a tournament. It's something that happened a lot in the older days in the history of our sport. Is fighting in a tournament for you, is that more of kind of like a bucket list type thing, or did it just kind of have to do with the paycheck?
I guess neither really. I've never once, besides before they announced the tournament and they offered me the tournament to be in the tournament, I've never thought to myself like, wow, I would really like to be in a one-night tournament. That's never really crossed my mind. I've just been, you know, very traditional, one fight a night, you know, every 90 days, staying very active, you know, 4 or 5 fights a year. So in that aspect, I don't think it's ever been part of my bucket list. The more time goes on, the more excited I get about it, though. It's just a very cool event. It's a historic event, if you may. Combate America is going to Cancun, Mexico. You know, like you said, it's been years since the promotion has held something like this, so it's pretty cool to see it. Does the paycheck hurt? Does it intrigue me? Absolutely, but you know, I would fight for peanuts, man. I absolutely love what I do. I graduated 2 years ago with a double major in criminal law and Spanish, and I was entering the corporate world, the business world, and then I just had an epiphany. You know, I can't sit behind a desk right now, behind an office, working a 9 to 5. I absolutely love waking up every single morning, going to go train, coming home in between, and then going to go train at night. You know, I love what I do. It's a passion of mine. But absolutely, you know, the paycheck is awesome. But like I said, I would fight for peanuts, man.
Well, John, it sounds like your prep's in order. Even from the way you answered that first question, it sounds like you're really dialed in. So let me ask you. I see that, you know, maybe I'm lumping all the Minnesota boys together, but I've seen you work with Greg Nelson there. Do you get do you get a lot of your prep, a lot of your knowledge from that coach? And can you share your experience working with a guy like Greg Nelson, who's been there with guys like Sean Shirk, world champions in our sport?
Oh, I get absolutely all of my prep and all of my knowledge from Coach Greg. He's the head trainer for the MMA portion of the everyday MMA practice, and then he's like the jiu-jitsu coach. He teaches Muay Thai, but then there's also like other coaches, high-level coaches, Nat McIntyre, Andy Braun, you know, world-class kickboxing coaches, world-class jiu-jitsu practitioners. You know, we have a really elite coaching staff at the academy, along with a lot of elite training partners as well. But yeah, like you said, the academy and Coach Greg Nelson have produced top elite world-level champions. Brock Lesnar, Dave Monet, Sean Shirk. I just think I'm next in line. You know, I think that I'm taking as much wisdom as I can from Coach Greg, and it's been an honor. It's been a blessing having him in my corner. Before I moved to the Minnesota Martial Arts Academy, I was training I was going to school in Mankato, southern Minnesota, small town. Since I've moved to the academy, I've won 9 straight fights. I've seen my game evolve in every single aspect, from the ground to striking to blending it all together. It's been amazing, and I know that I'm super young in this sport, and I have so much room for growth, and I'm very excited to be a part of a very great team.
John, when do you guys find out the pairings?
I think that we find them out here within the next week, and then I think I have a good sense of who's going to be on my side of the bracket. I think that Marcelo Rojo and
Mark Gomez will be on the opposite side of the bracket as I am, and then I think I'm on the same side of the bracket as Ricky Palacios. The only reason why I'm assuming this is because I'm representing the U.S. and Ricky Palacios is representing the state of Texas, and I can't imagine them ever setting it up to where a possibility of a final championship fight would be the U.S. versus Texas.
Right.
So I'm just putting that together right now. I love, if that is how it is, I love that. I love my chances to get to the finals, and I absolutely love my chances of winning this whole thing. I think I'm a very adaptable fighter, like I said, and I think I have a lot to prove on this fight, and I think I can take care of business for sure.
My man, thanks for taking some time out for us to talk to you about your preparations, this tournament. We'll be tuning in, Telemundo or NBC something, NBC Sports, big NBC. I don't know. I'm tempted to hear the news when that's released, but we really appreciate your time. I hope you have a safe camp and safe travels to Cancun. Good luck on the 11th.
Guys, thanks for having me on the show, guys. Big Mac comes strong.
All right, my man. Take care. Folks, follow him on Twitter at SexyMexi135. SEXIMEXI 135. We're going to take our last break here. When we come back, we'll talk to Mackenzie Dern, one of the big names out at LFA, coming off a big win at LFA. So stay close, folks. We'll be right back. It's the MMA Junkie Radio Show on SiriusXM Rush 93.
They can drink Mentos-flavored Diet Coke without their stomachs giving a single fuck. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio live from the Race and Sportsbook at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. Stop on by and pay us a visit if you're ever in town for business and pleasure. The show starts at 10 a.m. And again, we're in the Race and Sportsbook. If you want ways to save money by staying at the Mandalay Bay Resort, follow them on social media fronts of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.com/Mandalay Bay. Let them know the at MMA Junkie Radio guys sent you. Also, kicking off in a few minutes, it's Benfica versus Manchester United on Fox Sports Deportes. That's channel 465 if you have DirecTV. Lining up for Man U, David De Gea, Victor Lindelof, Chris Smalling, Daley Blind, Antonio Silva, Henrik Mkhitaryan, Nemanja Matic, Ander Herrera, Romelu Lukaku, Marcus Rashford, and Juan Mata. We are going to kick their ass. You watch. All right, folks, speaking of kicking ass, Mackenzie Dern is our last guest of the day. She's 4-0. She kicked some ass last week as she defeated Mandy Polk via submission. That is her second submission, and she's now with LFA comboed with LFC 4-0. And aside from that, she's one of the most decorated grapplers on the planet. You can follow her on Twitter at Mackenzie Dern. Hello, Mackenzie. How you doing?
Hey, George. Sorry, I think my phone just completely dropped off. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Like the actual phone's just died.
Oh, wow.
Hold on one second.
All right,
Well,
we will
George-
keep chugging along here, and we'll see if she can call back or if Danny can call her back.
I tuned in a little late. When I tuned on, you were just reading a lineup. What were you talking about? Are you talking about an all-star game or something? I saw you reading the lineup.
No,
It's
this
gotta
is
be like
this
that.
is the starting lineup for Manchester United as they're
okay.
getting set to kick off versus Benfica in
Gotcha.
Champions League. We are in the group stages right now. Man U has gotten 6 points from their first two games, and now we're looking to take our talents to Portugal.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Danny can give us a heads up if we're able to link up with Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie can be followed on Twitter, like I said, at Mackenzie Dern. I mean, she really, really has accolades, man. She's a world champion at Abu Dhabi, 60 kilos. She's been a no-gi world champion, a Pan-American champion, a European champion, and now in MMA, she is 4-0. Definitely taking that scene by storm. What were we going to say, guys?
Well, no, I was going to say... It just slipped my mind. It was MMA related, too. Oh, my God. Jesus Christ.
What?
I don't know. It was just on the tip of my tongue, and it just slipped away. Weird.
Nothing about Manchester United in the
No. It was MMA related. Maybe was it something I saw on Twitter? Let me see.
Ah.
I hate when that happens, man.
Yeah, I'm the worst at that. Like it's there, then it's not.
All these medications, I heard, have that side effect of losing your short-term memory, so I always get scared with.
You don't blame it on being related to the goldfish?
His memory is actually a lot better than he leads on.
Really?
Like, yeah, George has selective memory.
Okay.
So he'll remember, like, he can tell you who was on what card or whatever, but maybe can't tell you what he had for lunch yesterday. So he has a good memory. It's just selective. Right, George?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you probably like remember
I don't
people
know.
from like.
Sometimes I amaze myself. I am fantastic. I mean, no way around that. But there are other times where I'm awful. By the way, Bellator. If anybody has gotten their hands on these bobbleheads, there's been 3 of them or 2 of them now, right? There's been the Fedor one and then a Hoist Gracie.
Yeah.
If anyone's got an extra one, I'd love to get my hands on one. I just can't get to these events. And now there's going to be a Randy Couture bobblehead at Bellator 186 on Friday, November 3rd at the Bryce Jordan Center. But I think those would be pretty cool, man. I really, really wanted a Fedor one. So if anybody happened to grab a couple extras, the first 5,000 fans got them, but someone gets drunk and leaves them behind, let us know.
I saw a listener to the program at Dave Madden MMA tweet out the Hoist Gracie bobblehead with a picture of that guy from Whose Line Is It Anyways, Colin something, and then they actually look kind of Colin Mockery, and they look kind of similar.
Did it?
So shout out to Dave for that giggle. But
yeah, that would be cool. Especially, I mean, that's a who's who really when it comes down to MMA. I know eventually they're gonna get to the Sakuraba one, and I'd want that one really bad.
You know, waiting for like the Edwin Deweese bobblehead or
Mackenzie's back.
All right, let's get to it, folks. Mackenzie Dern joining us here on the program. Hi, Mackenzie. How you doing?
Hi. How are you?
Good. Congratulations on your win this past weekend. So, by the way, sorry for the disconnect. I'm sure it was our fault, but congratulations on your win this past Friday.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy about it. So.
Yeah, no, you've done some amazing stuff. Transferring over from the grappling world, very decorated there. We were going over a lot of your accolades in that sport, and now 4-0 in mixed martial arts. Are they about equal? Do you love them both passionately, or is one Is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu still number one, or is MMA becoming number one? How do you feel about them?
MMA definitely is like a lot harder. I don't know, just because I've done jiu-jitsu my whole life, so it kind of comes very like naturally to me. And MMA is like the training for that. You're like hurt every day. You're so sore, like getting punched in the face. So it's definitely like I can't say like, oh, I love to get like punched in the face, but I think I'm a fighter at heart, so I love to learn, and I was missing that in jiu-jitsu, I kind of not that I reached like I wasn't evolving anymore, but it was just a very slow process, you once you're at the highest level, you evolve very slow, so I was missing I feeling like a white belt again, and learning new things, and seeing the progress fast, so that's really something that I enjoy so much about MMA. And I think every time I see this fight I stayed a little bit more standing up, that's way more progress than my very first fight, so
right.
It's really nice to see that progress happening, and having the MMA community kind of behind me. Also, I think it's hard because the MMA community is very different than the jiu-jitsu community, so I'm kind of getting used to it, I know that, one day they're gonna like me, the other day maybe they're gonna hate me, it's just kind of very back and forth, but I'm excited to come into this new world and this new challenges, and I'm having lots of fun, so I'm loving the journey.
Okay. Now, one thing you said, obviously, I don't think anybody really likes getting punched in the face, except maybe Jason Mayhem Miller, but how good does it feel to punch others in the face? Have you fallen in love with that aspect of mixed martial arts?
Really? Even in the training and stuff, I'm usually the one that's getting punched in the face, all my teammates, they all, they know me, they know my game, they know, I'm a ground girl, so, even, on my training and everything, it's, I'm usually on the short end of the stick, getting punched in the face, so, but I'm not gonna lie, to be able to, set up my submission by punches, it felt really good. I felt I even kind of saw a playback, I'm man, I look so aggressive and so mean, and I'm not a mean I'm not a mean person, but it felt good. It felt good to throw punches and punches to connect the punches, actually, not just throw and miss,
Right. And then maybe you can give me a quick answer on this one. What is your favorite submission out of all the submissions you've been taught? Your black belt level. I'm sure you've hit quite a few, but is there one where you just that's the bread and butter?
I think probably the Chocoplata, the one I did on my my second MMA fight with omoplata mixed with the rear naked choke, something I do in the gi, without the gi, in jiu-jitsu, in MMA. I think that's probably just one of my favorite positions, and also it's kind of just really hard for people to get out of, and kind of slippery, it's hard to defend, you kind of just fall in, they kind of just fall into it, so it's kind of really a really good submission without having to really open up so much, just kind of whoops, omoplata, chocoplata, good.
Mackenzie Dern, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. She is coming off a win at LFA 24 over Mandy Polk. She's now 4-0, one of the bright prospects in the flyweight division. All right, let me send it over to the guys at the Mandalay Bay. Goes and Dan, what do you have for Mackenzie Dern?
Mackenzie, you have such a bright future in this sport. Is it hard sometimes to focus on the present, knowing what's around the corner?
Yeah, I think so, because there's just not necessarily pressure, but there's just always offers, and always people not necessarily giving advice, but everyone just doing recommendations, and oh, you should do this, you should do this, oh, you should just do one more fight, oh, you should do more 5 fights, oh, you know what I mean? So it's I'm always trying. I have a good team. I have good people around me, my family, my manager, my friends, my teammates, everyone around me. They keep me grounded, but at the same time, it's hard to always try and ignore what everyone's saying, because I know I don't Ronda Rousey, she did so much for the sport or anything, but in the back of your mind, you don't want people to think oh, it's just a story repeating itself, or oh, she's just a ground person and, she's going to get knocked out, as soon as she fights someone tough, like standing up, like I don't want that to happen, of course, and I just want to take my time. So, but at the same time, I don't want to like just, I know like UFC, like it's a different level, so at the same time, I don't want to, I want to keep pushing myself and going up, I think like if you stay too long at the lower level, like it will be hard for you to like really push yourself. I think you always need to keep pushing the limits. So it's definitely hard to keep like that balance, like, oh, okay, I feel like I'm ready, I can go a little bit more, but like to not take like 5 steps ahead, to always try and keep like maybe 1-2 steps going forward now, like, okay, I can jump 5-10 steps ahead now, It's definitely hard, but with like the right people around me, I think we're doing a good job of it.
How long does it take you to go from grappling mode to MMA mode, to get that timing back and all that?
It's hard, like especially like when I started to train a lot MMA, like and do my fights, I definitely felt like my grappling, like the timing and more like just your thinking, like to be able to make the right decisions without hesitation and, you know what I mean, and like adapt to the situations. I felt like my grappling, like since going to MMA, I felt like my grappling was going down on that part a little bit, Like sometimes I'd make like a wrong decision, or hesitate, not as like a scared, but like, oh man, I should have done this when normally I wouldn't even think about it. I would do something else, But that's just because it's so different, the games, Like at first my jiu-jitsu will help my MMA, but like in the training I'll ask like my coaches like, oh man, on my fight, if they go to take me down, I should like accept the takedown and fall on bottom, like and go to whatever, chocaprada or go straight for the armbar or something. And they tell me like, no, like you defend the wrestling takedown and you take them down and stay on top, and that's like, for jiu-jitsu, like I have no problem to be on my back, so it's like really hard to change your mind and train your mind to react so differently than something that really I wouldn't mind if they took me down, like if they are on top, like that's fine for me, but, I need to train to not accept takedowns and to not, and just kind of to be able to beat them on everything. That's what MMA is about, it's not just to be like a one type person, like just stand up or just ground. It's to be like the all around athlete, all around fighter, So it's hard, like to change your mindset. But I think like I'm doing good, like the same thing in my last fight, I did like punches and she fell down, and some people say like, oh, you could have gone like a knockout, but I jumped straight to the back, So I think like it's still, jiu-jitsu is still like really in my heart and my instincts.
Mackenzie, speaking of...
Sounds like a lot's going through your head during these fights. I'm sorry, go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I was just going to say, speaking of your grappling, Mackenzie, a lot of people, or maybe at least speaking for myself, I came up, I knew who you were from after the 2015, your ADCC run in Sao Paulo. Was that, since that was a no-gi, that was a really big event, was that one of the events that kind of clicked with you where you said, hey, I think I could do this MMA stuff, or if not, was there an event or a competition where you just clicked and you were like, you know what, I always wanted to do MMA, but I really believe I can do it now?
It's actually like I never wanted to do MMA, I was always like against it, kind of like growing up, my dad was always against it. Everything I have like all my life is from like him and his jiu-jitsu academy and like my parents, so like I've traveled the world, I've done like seminars, I've done like competed, like my whole life I've did that, and I've had like a comfortable life off of jiu-jitsu, So he always like told me like, oh, you're too pretty, you don't need to get like punched in the face, like you can have everything you ever want, like just from jiu-jitsu. He was always like against me to do MMA, so I was always like, no, I don't need to do MMA. And I think like 2015, that whole year in general was my third year black belt, and like I had some knee surgeries in 2013. So like I was doing good at black belt, like I was getting to the podium, but I hadn't like accomplished all those goals that you have, like to be black belt, like, because I won the world championships on the other belts, but not black belt, everything changes at black belt. And 2015, I won like the ADCC World Championship, I won the IBJJF World Championship, Abu Dhabi World Championship. I just like had like one of the greatest years, and that was kind of like, okay, I accomplished everything, I'm like young, like what can I do next, and I think that year I actually had started training MMA to help my jiu-jitsu, like to have one more training a day. Right. And everyone at the academy was like starting to like, man, you should do it, you should do it, you should do it. And I said, okay, you know. And then once I won everything, like that was the next step, you know. Like, yeah, I'm ready for like new challenge, and I think, you know, I have like, if anything, I could always come back to jiu-jitsu. You know, that was like my biggest thing. Like, I'm young enough that if it doesn't work out, I can come back. You know, so it was like
you're doing great.
Really, yeah,
you're doing great. You're undefeated. And Mackenzie, we do have to run, but thank you so much for doing the show. We really appreciate it. Thanks for calling back. Sorry about those problems. Congrats on your win, and hopefully we can talk to you again soon. Okay?
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. All the best for you guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
See you, Mackenzie. Follow her on Twitter, folks, at Mackenzie Dern, and shout out to Danny Rube for lining that up. Folks, we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, be champions.
Las Vegas turning day into night, time turning night into daytime. If you see